worry about a hotel room again. Will I have to pay for it? I never have to worry about a menu. Yeah, that's amazing.
A $280 million Powerball win. For David Lee Edwards, it was supposed to be the ultimate dream come true. But within a few short years, his fortune turned into a nightmare. What led this man from unimaginable wealth to a tragic downfall? How could a jackpot so massive end in such misery? The early life of David Lee Edwards. David Lee Edwards wasn't born into wealth. Far from it. He grew up in Ashland, Kentucky, a small steel town where opportunities were limited. By his early 20s, Edwards had already run into serious trouble with the law. He spent more than a third of his life in prison for armed robbery and was living in poverty, scraping by with odd jobs. By the time he turned 46, Edwards was out of work, in debt, and barely surviving. But then, everything changed with a $7 lottery ticket. The big win. In 2001, David walked into a convenience store in Kentucky, borrowed a few bucks from a friend, and spent $7 on Powerball tickets. Little did he know that this small purchase would change his life forever. Edwards won a staggering $280 million, one of the largest jackpots in lottery history. He chose the one-time payout of $27 million, which seemed like a dream come true for someone who had lived in poverty for so long. You'd think, with all that cash in hand, this would be Edwards's turning point, a chance to rewrite his story. But nope. From day one, his sudden fortune kicked off a series of choices that would only pull him deeper into disaster. Was it fate, bad luck, or just plain recklessness? Let's just say, it wasn't the fairy tale he'd imagined. At the press conference, Edwards put on a good show, laying out plans of responsibility and a future built to last. He promised the world he'd be wise with his fortune, claiming there'd be no splurging on flashy cars or massive estates. Instead, he'd invest in a legacy for himself, his fiancée Shauna, and his daughter Tiffany. But here's where it gets interesting, because not everything went according to plan. Just how far did things spiral? Turns out, words are one thing, but actions, they're a whole different story. And as Edwards's life took a twist, his choices spoke louder than any vow he'd made. Chaos was lurking, and nobody would have guessed the wild ride that was about to unfold. The spending spree. With his jackpot, Edwards wasted no time living the high life. For the next few years, it seemed like he was on top of the world. He married his girlfriend Shauna, and together they indulged in every pleasure money could buy. What began as a promise to manage his winnings responsibly quickly devolved into a whirlwind of extravagant spending. In just 3 months, Edwards blew through $3 million. He purchased a lavish 6,000 square foot mansion in Palm Beach for $1.6 million, complete with tennis courts and a golf course. Edwards even paid $500,000 to his first ex-wife and her husband for custody of his then teenage daughter, Tiffany. He gifted his young daughter an extravagant $35,000 golf cart. Edwards also amassed an impressive collection of luxury vehicles, over a dozen high-end cars, including a $200,000 Lamborghini Diablo and a $90,000 Dodge Viper. His driveway overflowed with vehicles to the point that neighbors complained it looked like a car dealership. Mind you, Edwards's spending spree was just getting started. Not content with fancy cars or a new house, he went all out, dropping a cool $1.9 million on a Learjet and putting cash into businesses like a fiber optics company and even a limousine service. He was living large, no doubt. But behind the scenes, things were unraveling fast. As the months ticked by, it became painfully clear. Edwards wasn't just spending, he was speeding headfirst toward financial disaster. In just 1 year, he'd burned through a jaw-dropping $12 million. His once simple life was now tangled in the trappings of fortune, and it left everyone wondering, how does someone go from struggling to pay bills to blowing millions without a second thought? The dark side of wealth. As the spending escalated, so did the dark clouds looming over Edwards's life. Even with a team of financial experts backing him, Edwards couldn't resist going rogue. He'd hired a top advisor, James Gibbs, who set him up with stocks and bonds that would have secured him a sweet, steady income of $85,000 a month. Sounds like a perfect setup, right? But here's the kicker. Why settle for stability when you're living the high life? Ignoring Gibbs's advice, Edwards cashed out those investments in record time, fueling his over-the-top spending habits instead. What should have been his safety net quickly evaporated, all in the name of keeping up his new lavish lifestyle. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion, unstoppable and impossible to look away from. But Edwards's spending didn't just empty his bank account. It set him on a path that would leave him unrecognizable from the millionaire he once was. The rapid downward spiral. Within just 5 years of winning the lottery, Edwards's fortunes had completely vanished. The mansion? Gone. The cars? Gone. Even his private jet had to be sold off to cover debts. From millions of dollars to almost nothing, Edwards was left with only a fraction of his once massive fortune. He and Shauna moved into a storage unit in Kentucky, where they faced the harsh reality of their choices, living in a space filled with filth and remnants of their past lives, rotten food, used syringes, and more. Their relationship deteriorated as drug addiction consumed them. Shauna eventually left Edwards, seeking a new life away from the chaos they had created. She remarried, leaving Edwards alone to face the consequences of their mutual decisions. Separated from Shauna and left to confront his choices alone, Edwards's life took a darker turn as his health began to unravel. The final years. In his last years, David Lee Edwards struggled with severe health issues, partly due to his long battle with addiction. He spent his remaining time in and out of hospitals, battling ailments that stemmed from years of neglecting his health. By 2013, he had fallen into hospice care, a tragic end for someone who once held the promise of a bright future. But could his fate have been avoided? Edwards died at the age of 58, leaving behind no money, no assets, and no legacy for his daughter, Tiffany. She later revealed that her father had left her nothing, not even a life insurance policy. "There is no money anywhere," she stated on social media, underscoring the total loss of a once bountiful life. What started as a dream come true had twisted into a full-blown cautionary tale. Edwards's story isn't just about luck gone wrong. It's a harsh reminder of the risks that come with sudden wealth. Was he simply a victim of his own reckless choices? Or does society shoulder some blame for glorifying instant riches without a hint of the dark side? Edwards's journey from a troubled past to a fortune few could imagine, only to end up back in despair, shines a light on the tangled web of money, addiction, and responsibility. It's a story that questions everything we think we know about the power of wealth and the dangers it can unleash. What do you think? Could Edwards have saved himself, or was his downfall inevitable? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like and subscribe for more shocking tales like this one. Thanks for watching.